Today, we'll discuss about the psychology of Bhagavad Gita. We find that it is the only and the same Raj Yoga of performing skillful action, experiencing self as a detached observer, as mentioned in chapter 13, 14, and loving towards God is explained in Upanishads of Vedas, Sage Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and in Bhagavad Gita with different analogies and examples. Chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita mentions it is Sage Vyas who had written Gita. Bhagavad Gita is an analogy relating Arjuna and war for human being with day-to-day issues, and Sri Krishna, a representation of God, Supreme Soul, the Father of all souls. Chapter 2 mentions we souls are indestructible. We are point of consciousness, and chapter 8 mentions that Supreme Soul is also a point of unlimited consciousness. The soul and the Supreme Soul can be compared to a point of energy, like sun, and their unlimited consciousness could be compared to the unlimited rays of the sun as explained in chapter 13. Chapter 4 explains that God appears on earth at the end of Iron Age and shows us the right path for the new golden age, like the revelation that is happening through Brahma Kumaris. Chapter 3, 6, 7, and 8 emphasizes that only God is the protector, and we need to remember God constantly to overcome the attachment to our senses, mind, and intellect, so that we become virtuous from being vicious. Because in chapter 14, Sage Vyas says, God is the seed of whole creation of this inverted world tree, as mentioned in chapter 15 and chapter 9, 10, and 11. Mentioned that God is the creator, and chapter 15 says God is the sustainer of three worlds, physical, subtle, and supreme Paramdam. In chapter 2, 3, and 4, Sage Vyas explains desire for the fruit of action is the root cause of all suffering. Even in Buddhism and in psychology, it says unfulfilled desires cause frustration, leading to anxiety, stress, and disease. Chapter 2 and 3 also gives the remedies, counseling to overcome physical and mental illness. Chapter 13 advises to restrain the field consisting of 5 senses, mind, intellect, and ego, being attentive on noels, the self and the God, free from attachment. Chapter 5 and 6 elaborate the natural quality of self, and chapter 12, 13, and 16 explains the virtues and vices and how the self remains balanced by always remaining connected with Supreme Soul. Chapter 17 gives details on food for body, thoughts, words, and actions. Then in chapter 18, Sage Vyas compiles the Supreme Raja Vidya, Raja Yoga, as mentioned in chapter 9, that is explained step by step in previous chapters. So friends, the essence of complete Gita is to remember God constantly, who is in a form of light, who lives in Paramdam, as explained in chapter 15, by realizing the sattvic nature of self, so that we attain to the blissful nature, as mentioned in chapter 12, by restraining from attachment towards the senses and sense objects. According to chapter 3, 4, 5, and 18, the Gita is a method to perform all actions free from selfish desire and expectations, but continuously act for the sake of God, serving and benefiting the self and the world. Thank you.